Hello viewers, Mike Stevens here. I'm at BMW Australia headquarters in Melbourne today for a quick tour of the BMW XM, new plug-in hybrid performance SUV, BMW M's first dedicated SUV, and the new BMW M2. And just so I'm not a bodiless voice the whole time, I've also roped in Mr. Alex Inwood.
Hey everybody, keen for this car. It's probably the performance car that I'm most excited about for 2023. Pretty cool to see it in the metal actually, because I've been a little bit nervous about how it looks in pictures, but we're going to go through everything today. Dimensions, going to have a look at the exterior, we're going to start it up, we're going to answer some of your questions as well because you fired some through on social media, so we'll get to all of that in a little bit. But Steve-O, should we start with headline figures, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, mate. What's it make? What's it got?
What's it got? Well, basically the same engine as M3, M4. A lot of this car is the same as M3, M4, including track widths now. So if you have a stop there and have a look at the front of it, sort of scroll down a little bit, you'll see how wide the car is now. So track widths have really grown. The whole car is much bigger.
It's a massive presence, isn't it?
It's pretty much in every dimension you want in a performance car. So it's wider, it's a little bit longer, but it's also lower. So the roofline is lower now as well. And in the metal, I got to say, it is a physically larger car. So one of the things I really liked about the old M2 was just sort of how petite it was. It kind of felt right-sized. Still had that really those flared guards. It felt really muscular in the metal. This one does also have a lot of presence, but it is noticeably bigger. So, yeah. Under the bonnet, same 3-litre twin turbo, straight 6 engine as M3, M4. So outputs 338 kilowatts. So I think that's 36 kilowatts more than the previous M2 comp. So that's a nice jump in performance. Torque 550 Newton meters. So it's got plenty of snot, basically. It'll go from 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds, I think, for the auto, 4.3 for the manual.
That's pretty close for the manual.
It is.
You'd want to be a handy shifter, though.
And it's got a manual. We should just be celebrating that fact, right?
Point,
so that is so good.
And probably the last one, right?
That's what the BMW guys here have said, yeah. So they've kind of hinted that, pretty strongly hinted, that this is going to be the last M car developed with a manual as we're all moving towards electrification, plug-in hybrids, all that kind of stuff.
It'll be interesting because we've seen that Lexus, for example, and I think one other biz, I can't remember which one, is preparing basically a Logitech gamer-style manual for EVs.
I know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Look, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, it's not authentic, but hey, I love simulators. Let's tie them together.
Well, what do you guys think? Is sort of a simulated manual a good thing or a bad thing? Are you sad that we're losing genuine manuals like this one? I know that I am. But 6-speed manual, basically the same gearbox as M3, M4, is my understanding. No cost option to go for an 8-speed automatic as well. The good news is that BMW's order books currently say that about 30% of buyers are going for the manual gearbox. So hurrah, well done everybody. Probably the other figure you want to know is how much does it cost, right?
Yes.
Because the old M2 was such a bargain, particularly when they came out with that sort of stripped out.
Just under 100K?
It was, yeah. Even sort of 89 grand at one point, I think, when they had the pure version. Like everything in 2023,
I think that was the bad news.
The price has gone up. So it's $119,000.
That's a big jump.
It is a big jump, about 17 grand over the last M2 comp.
Wow.
But, you know, what can we say? It's kind of expected, really, isn't it, these days? Everything's going up. Yeah, hashtag inflation. And it is still close enough to 100 grand to say, you know, and it undercuts quite a few of its rivals like Cayman, Porsche Cayman, and it's about line ball with things like super manual, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll get into rivals a little bit later, but price is up. But personally, I still think it does represent good value given the level of tech, performance, and it just feels right sized. There's something about the M2 for me that's just always it's hit the sweet spot, I think.
Well, the gents were saying before that the wheelbase is, 54 mil longer than the previous model?
Yeah, so it's certainly grown. And you can see that just with your eyeballs. Looking at it, it is a much larger car.
I think it's only 100 mil shorter than the M4 as well. So if you do prefer that more compact wheelbase, you're still getting a fair bit of space inside, which of course we'll have a look at in a moment.
That's another reader question are the rear seats usable? I'm going to cram myself in there in a little bit. I'm 6'2".
How tall are you? 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'2", so that'll be a good test. But let's talk about the design first and foremost, because the angle that you're looking at the car right now is actually the one that I was worried about most. Because I looked at the front and I'm like, oh, the grill's the right size. But
Well, the tail lights were the first thing we ever saw of this car. They were leaked with somebody had pulled up the cover and quickly snapped a potato shot.
That's right, yeah.
And a lot of people said that it reminded them of the early VE HSVs.
Ah, okay.
I think it's come out well. I actually prefer the rear. I think the rear is probably the best view for this car.
Cool.
I think I might be in the minority there.
Now that I'm seeing it in the metal, I think it is quite nice. It's not as...
It is one of those cars that works better in the metal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should we start at the front though? Because BMW is getting a lot of column inches and text dedicated on the website about their design at the moment.
Like
look at that one. You might have spotted that in the corner. That is the XM, so you might catch that in the corner of the frame. If you want to know more about that car, we'll have a video on that one as well.
Yep.
But this is the size that a kidney grille should be, if you ask me. It's sort of a more traditional size for the grille. I think the front end of the car actually looks pretty spot on.
It's still a little full on, that grille, though, I think.
Okay.
I mean, look, it's an improvement on some of the grills we've seen lately. I think most dyed-in-the-wool fans are big fans of the tall grille. It's obviously designed for a newer generation that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But the big square ports on the side there.
There is so much air going into the front of the car, isn't there?
Because it's very open at the bottom as well in that air dam there.
And that is, that's one of the key things that the BMW guys gave us a heads up on, because this car is significantly heavier. It's about 100 kilograms heavier, and this car has copped a lot of criticism for going up in weight. It's about 1725 unladen, I believe.
That's family sedan weight not long ago.
I know. So we all know that cars are getting heavier. They're getting heavier and more expensive, so that kind of sucks. But one of the reasons this car is heavier is because of the cooling system. So the cooling system is the same as M3, M4, much larger cooling, better cooling system in this than the previous M2, but that has added weight. But as you can see, just from the sheer amount of gaps here in the front grille, how much air is going into the nose of this car. Two things I want to point out. First one is the color, Zandvoort blue.
What is it?
Zandvoort blue.
What does that mean?
Oh, don't ask me questions.
Put you on the spot.
Well, Zandvoort's a place, right? So
I didn't know that. So there you go.
I assume that's what it's referring to.
I hope it's coming through. It is a very nice blue. I mean, it's not dissimilar to Hyundai N's Hero blue. It's lighter.
Ooh, yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It is definitely
might
lighter.
like that comparison.
It's almost like a duck egg blue.
Yeah, almost like, that's a good way to describe it. I was going to say baby blue.
Yeah, just a couple of interior designers here.
Exterior designers.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out, if you can come and have a quick look at this
I was about to mention
roundel.
that. I'm a massive fan of the anniversary badge.
Yeah, so that's the 50th. So if you order this car, I think from March production, you will get the 50th anniversary roundel.
So many people are going to be grabbing them off eBay once
That's
they
very
finish
true.
production.
I'm sure there'll be some counterfeit versions of that as well. Another thing, headlights, full adaptive LED headlights as standard, which is nice.
Let's see if I can shade that. No. Throw in some B-roll.
Front parking sensors, and on the bonnet you get a nice bonnet bulge as well. Probably it's might be a bit hard to pick up with the blue paint. There are 5 exterior colours to choose from. Off the top of my head, I think it's white, red, grey, blue, black.
Nothing outlandish yet?
Yeah, nothing outlandish, but we'll put that up on the screen.
What's the green you can get with the M4, that really bright lime tennis ball green?
I'm not too sure of the colour name, but you can't have that in this unless you go for a special colour.
It'll happen eventually, I'm sure. Yeah.
Wheel sizes. So staggered alloys, 19s at the front, 20s at the back, shod in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, so quality rubber, as you'd expect. The only difference, there's only one alloy design to choose from, but you can choose 2 different finishes. So these are the black.
These are black, are they?
Gloss black. Thanks, mate. Yep, they are black. But you can go for a different finish, which has like a burnished silver finish on the front of the spokes.
I don't think I've seen that.
I think we've got a picture here. I'll try and rifle through the
give us a look.
The pamphlet that they
Now that I
provided.
think about it, the M3 Touring was shown in a really nice purple. I'd love to see this in.
Here are the colours, by the way. Did I get them right? I did. So white, grey,
Brooklyn grey.
black, red, and Zandvoort blue.
Don't they have a wheel, Melbourne? They've got a wheel design called Melbourne, I think.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Not on this car, but I think they've done it historically.
Here are the 2 alloy finishes. So black and
Well, yeah, I'd have to go
burnished spokes.
Yeah, I'd have to go some burnished.
I would too. Personally, I think black wheels just tend to disappear a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But side of the car is longer, obviously. Wheelbase has stretched, but it's still a nicely proportioned thing, I think, personally. Another thing that Aussie cars get as standard is a carbon roof. That's the first time that's standard on M2. Saves about 6 kilograms, I believe. Exactly where you want to save weight as well.
Yeah.
Right at the top, so it lowers the centre of gravity.
That's right.
No panoramic glass sunroof up here where you're lugging hundreds of kilos of glass around.
And not available?
Pardon?
So this is the only roof. You can't get one with a sunroof and a metal roof.
That's right. Yeah. So BMW Australia has actually made the spec very simple. So the only things you have to choose from are what finish you want for your alloys, what colour you want, and what gearbox you want.
Yeah.
This one is fitted with the manual, but the 8-speed auto is a no-cost option. So, or it might be the other way around. I'm not too sure. It doesn't make any difference anyway. So 119 grand is the list price. Brakes. Let's quickly talk about the brakes because it's got some serious brakes on it. 380mm front rotors at the front, obviously, clamped by 6-piston calipers. And at the back, they're still pretty big. 370mm rotors at the back with a single piston. The other thing...
Is there a carbon?
There is not. So unlike M3, M4, where you can option carbon brakes, you cannot get carbon brakes on the M2, but it does have BMW M's composite pad.
Sure.
So suspension, that's another key change for this generation. So the previous gen was on passive suspension, very nicely set up actually, very cool compromise between control and comfort. It was a great everyday performance car, but this car now has adaptive M suspension. So you can change how stiff your dampers are.
Nice.
Around the back, where we started,
These pipes look so good.
quad exhausts. We are going to start it up soon, so you'll be able to hear a cold start on this to have a listen to that straight 6. I think the exhausts look awesome. This is the first time I'm having a proper look. Look at them, they're massive. Silver finish, I like that. I don't like black exhaust tips personally.
No.
But I could be alone in that. Let me know in the comments.
No, they need to stand out, especially in this era where we won't see exhaust tips much more in the future.
Or they'll be fake.
Yeah, exactly.
So real exhaust tips, big thumbs up. Little lip spoiler here on the boot lid. But the other good thing about the M2 is that it's still...
That is a proper boot, Alex.
390 litres, Steve-O.
I reckon you'd actually get 2 full-size luggage cases in there.
Me too.
The big rolling ones.
That's the other appealing thing about the M2, right, is the form factor is spot on. So it's small enough to feel really wieldy on sort of typical Aussie back roads, but it's got a back seat you can use. I hope. I haven't crammed myself in yet.
What's the split on that? That's, well, yeah.
40, 20, 40.
Yeah.
And look at the boot, 390 litres. So that's more than you get in a Volkswagen Golf, I think.
Lift this? Doesn't look like I can lift up that.
Your fingers are too fat, maybe. No, I can't
All
lift it up
fingers.
either.
So presumably just a can of goo.
Yeah, it looks that way.
If you get a flat, well, that's all right. We don't want it being any heavier.
That's true. That's true. So there you go. That is what the exterior looks like. I think I would go pretty close to this spec. I love this colour.
Yeah.
I would go the silver finish for the front of the spokes on the wheels, but I would definitely go the manual gearbox. The other thing this car has, before we jump inside, that's worth mentioning, is there's something called a BMW Carbon Experience Pack, I think.
So there is a pack?
There is a pack.
But not brakes?
Not brakes. So basically what the Carbon Experience Pack, I'm not going to get all this right, so I'm going to miss some things.
I'll put some graphics up.
It increases the top speed. So 285 Ks top speed. I don't know where it goes from. I think it goes from like 260 as standard, goes up to 285. Plus you get the special M carbon bucket seats, which we'll talk about when we jump inside. You get some other sort of flashy carbon bits around the car as well. I think it does save a little bit of weight overall. I can throw up the figure on screen, but it's a lot of money, 14.5 grand for a few flashings of carbon and an increased top speed.
Well, you're getting really close to M3, M4 price at that point.
Absolutely, you are. So you're really going to want to commit to that. But let's jump inside, hey? Yeah. Check out the cabin, have a feel, have a muck around and see what the shift action is like on the gearbox.
What
I'll try and jump in the back seat. Sorry?
What action was that?
Shift action.
Okay, cool.
All right, here we go. Leave these off the seat. First time I've sat in it. Oh, BMW, the carbon seats that BMW does are really serious, aren't they? They've got this sort of really pronounced lump
It's
here.
a bit of a statement piece, that I feel. It's like the cod piece of a seat.
It is a cod piece, that's for sure. And it's got the sort of the open points here for your kidneys. So if you do have people behind...
There'll be a bit of pranking there, I think.
I would.
Yep.
Probably not the driver. You don't want to
No, true.
jab them in the kidneys as you're going around the corner. But that's good. It's a cool little touch here on the door card.
Is that fabric? Oh no, it's in the... Is that carbon? Can't tell.
It's nice though.
It is nice either way.
There is lots of carbon in the interior. So BMW Australia has made this carbon dash inlay standard. So the intel on the previous M2 was that 98% of buyers optioned the carbon inlay for the dash. So this time around they've decided to make it standard, which is good.
Yeah.
Look, these seats are definitely a statement piece, but they don't forgo functionality in the pursuit of style because they are very comfortable. The support is pretty insane as well.
The same seats as well that are in the M5 CS.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty much through all the M product.
Which is cool. I mean, you're getting a regular M2 with CS spec seats.
I don't know how much weight they save. Let's throw the figure up on screen for that because I think it is actually fairly sizable, which is cool. In terms of driving position, zero complaints here. I'm nice and low. Steering wheel, manual adjustment for the steering wheel. Plenty of adjustment though. The steering wheel is on the fat side. BMW is sort of committing to that, aren't they? Sort of fat steering wheels. I personally prefer a thinner, more sculpted wheel, but...
It's proportional to the car.
That's a good point. And some nice little carbon inlays here for the spokes, which I kind of like. The other thing you may have noticed is the curved display. I'll try and start the car a little bit, like with the ignition so that we can fire that into live. Woo! There we go, started it fully. Sounds like a BMW straight six, doesn't it?
It does. We were talking infotainment, but
yeah, let's turn that off
all I
and
can think about is that.
We'll go back to that. Whether it starts again, we've got to replace battery warning here.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if this actually runs BMW iDrive 8. Do you know that?
Well, they just revealed 9 this week, so...
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
If we flick in, though...
Goodbye.
If it's not 9, I'll overlay some graphics with what you would have. This does look a bit different, though.
So these are your parameters, obviously. What's this one? Comfort and... Is that a parameter that you can change for your braking system?
It looks like a brake disc, yeah.
Interesting. I'm keen to know a bit more about that. Touchscreen. There we go. So I like the graphics here. Sort of the diagonal stripes with the BMW M colours. I like that. Lots of information here, isn't there? Lots of tyre pressure.
Look, nobody asked, but I'll just say I've always preferred BMW's infotainment over most cars. I think it's some of the nicest around. I feel like graphically Hyundai and Kia are doing really nice stuff, but a bit more novelty in some ways.
Yeah.
This just feels like it belongs.
We are, so unfortunately, oh no, let's fire that back up. Aircon controls, this is a bit of pet peeve of mine.
Oh yeah? Being on screen.
Being on screen,
Sure.
not having any physical buttons. Hopefully, once we drive it a bit more, we'll see, but hopefully those stay there. Because if they stay there, that's great. But if they disappear when you're driving, that's
Fairly
a bit
sure
of a
with
bummer.
Beamers they do.
Cool.
It's just sort
But
of
curved display, I think it looks pretty flash. I
Yeah.
like it. I like the graphics as well. They are on the busy side, but I like them. Nice and clear at least, the font they've chosen. This car has all of 30 Ks on the clock. All right, let's talk about, this has got 3 pedals. One of the questions that was asked is, what is the clutch action like? So let me pull up the question. It's from our friend Shaheen Evans. He wanted to know, what's the manual gearbox and clutch action like? He also wants to know, what's it sound like, and does it look better in person? So yes, it does look better in person. We've addressed that one. We'll start it up in a second again. But shift action, the old M2 manual, it wasn't the best manual in the world. Like, it was good, but it was a little bit rubbery, a little bit notchy at times. The clutch action could also be a little bit vague. It wasn't the best. So not expecting huge things from this. We're just glad that we've got a manual. But initially, it feels fairly similar, I've got to say, to the old car. We won't know until we drive it. I think the Aussie launch is going to be around April.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think BMW might be doing a launch at the Bend in Adelaide, which would
That'd be perfect.
pretty good. So, Steve, if you get the invite, can I go to that one, please? Yeah, look, it's a tight little gearbox, short throw, but this has only got 30 Ks on the clock, so it does feel a little bit notchy at the moment. And the clutch action is it's a fairly long clutch pedal, but we'll come back to that once we've actually moving in the car.
Let me go around the back before you start it up.
Okay.
Get my mic a little bit closer. All right, go for it, mate. Love the smell of emissions in the morning.
I think it sounds pretty mean.
It does. I like that a lot. That will sound great under load.
Yeah, absolutely. So we already went up to about 3,500 RPM. Then it's cold, so we don't want to do any damage to the engine. But yeah, promising signs on the sound front at least.
Show us the rear seats, mate.
No problem. Been waiting for you to ask because I just can't wait to contort myself in here.
There is a weird proportion of ridiculously tall motoring journalists as well in Australia.
I'm at the upper end, but there are some really tall people.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Giants.
So just to reiterate, you are 6'2".
I am 6'2", so...
Is it in your seating position you were happy with where
I
it
was happy with that, yep,
Okay.
absolutely. Even the detail here on the little tab is quite nice. I like that. It would make you feel special, this car. And I think that's why you buy a car like this, right? Every time you drive it. Okay, here we go. Access is pretty good. That was pretty easy. Oh, headroom's in your shoe already.
Oh.
So if I was to sit upright,
Wow.
my head is absolutely hitting the ceiling.
Time for a haircut, buddy.
I do need a haircut. So if you are back here for an extended period of time and you're on the taller side, prepare to sort of have a bit of a sore neck.
Here we go.
Is that seat going to come back
Yeah,
into
it
my
will.
seating position?
Wonder if it's got sensors so it doesn't crush your knees.
Oh, it didn't, but it stopped. So the good thing about these little scallops is that my
You can put your knees in there.
my knees actually slot into them. So
Let me come around and see if I can get a better view through the passenger side. There we go.
So, look, I'm fine. I've got loads of toe room, enough knee room.
Yeah.
It's just headroom that's the issue for taller people back
I mean,
here.
that's an
but-
unexpected result. Like, we expected headroom would be ordinary in a coupe, especially a compact one.
That's right.
But that's a great result,
And amenity-wise, you kind of, I've got rear air vents.
which is really surprising.
If I wanted to jam my daughter back here for trips, I wouldn't feel too bad about that because...
Did the previous model have rear vents?
Good question. Unsure off the top of my head. We'll say yes or no in text on screen. But vision out is actually decent as well. So the DLO, pretty good. So yeah, if you are asked to hop in the back of a new M2, don't think that it's some kind of perverse punishment. No. Not
Although
bad.
the driver's going to get some knees in the back, but
Look, as a package, I've got to say, I like it.
it's not
I
pretty
think
easy to get out as well.
the appeal carries over from the first gen, which, a lot of people instantly thought that the previous M2 was going to be a modern classic because it just seemed to nail what BMW M was known for such a long period of time when the previous or the new M3, M4 wasn't universally loved. They're a little bit spiky and the grille sort of divided a lot of people. But the M2 seemed to be the car that still sort of harked back to what BMW was. This is I think it's a good interpretation of bringing the M2 forwards, but not sort of moving it too far away from all the things that we love about it. So before we go, should we answer a few more of the questions from
What have we got?
from our readers? I've left my phone in the car, so amuse
But
yourself.
wasn't there a warning on the screen? Don't forget your phone.
Oh, I don't listen to warnings, Steve.
I'm a man.
Okay, so D99, great handle. He wanted us to run the M2 against an M240i.
Well, we will when we have
will.
the opportunity. Yeah.
We can't do that now, but I can talk you through a couple of the differences. So I think the M240i is about 90 grand. So 30k difference. M240i is obviously all-wheel drive. This powers the rear wheels only. So M2 gets the tick in my book for that. But obviously the M240i is going to be a bit grippier. And this has more grunt. So M240i's got 285 kilowatts, 500 Newton meters against 338, 550.
So is this 30 grand better than the M240i?
Without driving them, I can't give a definitive answer, but yes, absolutely.
Good. And you said there's no manual with the M240i, right?
Good question. I don't think so.
I didn't think
I would be
there was,
surprised
but,
if there was, given the low percentage of manual sales here in Australia. There are a couple of other questions. How does the M2 feel against the manual Supra? That is a test that I'm busting to do. So, Steve-O, let's put that one in the forward planner, please.
John Law just drove the manual Supra last week in Sydney. So as soon as we can get our hands on both cars in either state, we will definitely do that.
Another question from Maximus Power. Excellent name. Does it do good skids? I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes.
Yeah.
So slightly longer wheelbase will probably help.
Probably really good on carpet, I'd say.
Yeah. Might make it a little bit friendlier than the old car, but the old car did monster skids anyway. So, yeah, let's put that to the test as well, as long as BMW is paying for the tyres. And I think that's about it, really. A couple of others sort of...
Did you hear that, readers? None of your other questions were worth Alex's time.
Oh, well, no, some of them are a little bit harsh on the design language, particularly of the XM.
Well, I think we should say it, but let's viewers can tune into the XM video to see what some of our commenters have thought. And Alex might have to censor a little bit here and there.
It's certainly polarising BMW's direction for their design language, but it's getting a lot of interest, which is what exterior design should do. And you know, it's very subjective how a car looks. So we shouldn't really cast judgment on that, because I might think this is great, you might think it's not, etc., etc. That's what makes the world a beautiful and varied place. So there you go.
Lovely spot to finish.
That is our walk around of the new M2. Like I said at the beginning, probably the performance car that I'm most excited about this year. Cannot wait to drive it. Sounds great, looks pretty cool. The spec is nice as well. BMW has done a good job of just making that nice and simple. So the M2 legend continues. Let us know in the comments if you like it. If you have any other questions we haven't been able to cover today, fire away and Steve-O and I'll jump in there. Steve-O probably will, he's better at that than I am.
I'd also like readers to tell us if this is the car you're most looking forward to driving this year, Alex. What are our viewers looking forward to the most?
Yeah.
So obviously check out our new car calendar as well. If you jump on the website and see our list of all the cars that are coming to Australia this year, what's the most exciting incoming car for you? All right, now jump over to our XM video. You'll see a link at the end of this one. We'll see you there.